In today's video, we're going to be discussing the top NCAA college hockey players that are free agents and will likely see signed by NHL clubs here in the coming weeks. We'll get into all the details coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, it's that time of year again when we're seeing a lot of college hockey players' seasons come to an end and a lot of college hockey free agents sign with NHL clubs. Now today we're going to take a look at the top 5 players coming out of the NCAA and most likely to be signed, but of course there's going to be many others as well. And I also wanted to give some quick updates on some other previously NHL drafted prospects that college hockey season have come to an end and that we might see sign and turn pro here shortly as well, and we'll see what their futures might hold. So let's take a look at the top 5 players that are coming out of the NCAA that are free agents likely to be scooped up by NHL teams here in the near future. First up, we have Connor Mackey, 23-year-old left shot defenseman from Minnesota State. It's being reported that there's at least 7 teams that have already met with his camp and likely very interested in signing him. There's other teams interested as well. There's many as 28 teams around the NHL that I've seen reports on that at least have some varying degree of interest, which very well could lead to him getting signed very soon. Now, he's put up 23 points in 34 games this season. He's known as a pretty good skater, got good size. He's 6'2", 200 pounds, and certainly would get a 1-year deal due to his age of being age 23. But Mackey appears to be a very interesting defensive prospect who can certainly put up some offense. So I'm sure with the amount of interest in him, I'm not sure who the leading contenders are at this point, but I'm sure that he will be signed in short order here. Next up, we have the top goaltender in the NCAA free agent class, which is goalie John Lawson from Michigan State University. This year, he's had a tremendous season, putting up 31 games, 2.10 goals against average, and a .937 save percentage. It's being reported that he has about 6 to 7 teams, also with varying degrees of interest. Also, because of his age, he will get a shorter-term entry-level contract as well, which is the case with most of these players. Obviously, their age does determine how many years they're eligible for on their entry-level deals. There's always teams out there looking for goaltending prospects. We've seen various degrees of success from players being signed this route. So keep in mind that these players are having good seasons, which gets a lot of NHL attention. But at the same time, they've been in college for a longer period of time. They have more experience, and they really should be excelling at their current age and experience level for where they're playing at. So it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to translate to being great NHL players, but you do usually get the odd one here that does turn out to be a really solid pickup where they can sign them as free agents. But Lethman will be getting a contract more than likely here soon, just a matter of which team is going to be finalized and signed with. Next up, we have left shot defenseman Brinson Pashanak. Now, of course, I apologize if I butchered that name, but of course, I don't get to watch as much NCAA hockey, so if I've mispronounced any of these names, I do apologize. But for the most part here, these players are certainly going to be getting a lot more attention here soon. Now, he's from Arizona State. He's 5'10", 208 pounds. He's 22 years old. I've seen different reports indicating that he's narrowed things down to about 3 teams for where he's going to sign. Obviously, with the height and weight, you can see he's kind of an undersized but thickly built D with a lot of offensive talents. He's a co-captain with his team at Arizona State. He's been a power play quarterback, so certainly an offensively gifted defenseman. So we'll see where he ends up. He's certainly a pretty solid prospect coming out of Arizona State. Now, next up, this prospect appears to have signed, but I haven't seen confirmation from the NHL team that they have indeed signed him. But we have left winger Drew O'Connor from Dartmouth, who's a big power forward type of guy, 6'3", 200 pounds, 32 points in 29 games. At age 18, he was only 5'8", so he's grown a ton in the past couple of years and really filled out. Last season, he was the ECAC Co-Player of the Year. Like I said, a great power forward. One thing that's a little bit unusual about O'Connor is he's been able to maintain a 16% shooting percentage. So, certainly no guarantee he'll be able to maintain that at the pro level, but certainly getting tons of interest. It appears as though the Penguins have been the front runner, and I've seen reports that he's signed with the Penguins or that they've agreed to terms, but I haven't seen an official press release as I record this video saying that he has officially signed with Pittsburgh. But based on the sources and the reports I've seen, I do believe that likely is the case. I just didn't want to say 100% that was indeed already taken place here, but that appears to be what's happened. Now, the fifth prospect we're going to take a look at here today is right winger Mitchell Shaffey of UMass Amherst. He's 6 feet tall, 200 pounds. He's put up 29 points in 30 games this year, and a very talented skater with some scoring touch. Played a big role with this team last year as well, along with a defenseman, Cale Makar, of course, is now one of the top rookies in the NHL in their Frozen Four run, where he went on to win the Hockey East scoring title. It was named the first team All-American, so he's certainly going to be getting lots of interest. All these 5 players have certainly had all kinds of interest from various NHL teams, as I've indicated. It looks as though one has signed. The other 4 likely getting lots of attention and will be having contracts here in the near future. Now, there's also been a few other signings here as well that we can't officially report on. We have Jarrett Rosberg, a left shot defenseman that signed with the Dallas Stars. He's 23 years old and he put up 17 points in 36 games for this past season. Patrick Hodorenko, who's a center iceman from Michigan State, who has signed a contract with the New York Rangers. Now, he's a little bit younger. He's 21 years old. He started going to Michigan State a little bit earlier, but has put in 4 seasons with the university and is now officially a member of the New York Rangers. Now, he seems to be a little bit more offensively talented, putting up just shy of a point per game with 33 points in 34 games played. Now, as I mentioned as well, some other college players, their seasons have come to an end. There's certainly a lot of debate about their future, and that includes some players that have previously been drafted by NHL clubs, which is obviously different than the players we just talked about. Those players went undrafted, are now some of the top free agents in their class. But in the last couple of draft years, we've saw some top players go into the college hockey circuit and are still there and have not yet to sign their pro contract. Now, there's a trio of prospects playing with the Wisconsin Badgers, whose season has come to an end, and it's just interesting to see whether or not they will turn pro, remain in college. They could sign and go to their NHL team's minor league affiliate for right now. It's just debatable what we're going to see. But that includes Andre Miller, defenseman prospect for the New York Rangers. That also includes Alex Turcotte, one of the top picks in the 2019 NHL draft, who went to the Los Angeles Kings. And of course, known sniper Cole Caufield, who of course was drafted 15th overall by the Montreal Canadiens. Now, we've seen comments from Habs GM Marc Bergevin indicate lately that he didn't feel Cole Caufield was ready for pro hockey, and he was going to encourage him to remain in college for another season. But I do think a lot of these players are going to be determined by what each other does as well, because clearly, depending on who else they're going to be playing with and how strong the team is going to be, will certainly dictate what's best for the player. There might be an argument to be made that they might be better off to turn pro. There's some people that believe that Alex Turcotte is most definitely going to be signing with the Kings and turning pro. And if he does, of course, I think that increases the likelihood that Caufield here does as well. Now, in the case of Andre Miller, he's obviously a 2018 draft selection. He's got an extra year of college hockey in. I do think the odds of him signing with the Rangers are pretty good. His numbers this year were not quite as good as last year, so not quite clear exactly if that's going to impact anything or not. But really, I think overall the team wasn't as good as expected to be. So therefore, individually, that does impact your stats. So I don't think it's really anything too much to worry about at this point in the development of any of these prospects. But it's certainly a possibility that we could see these high-profile draft choices sign pro contracts here pretty much anytime here in the coming days or weeks as their season has come to a close. I believe Marc Bergevin and Cole Caufield are supposed to be meeting sometime either later this week or into next weekend. I don't know the exact date, but I know there was a meeting coming soon where they were going to discuss his future and either possibly look at a pro contract or have him stay. But remarks from Bergevin before indicated he thought he should stay. So I guess we'll have to remain to be seen what the plans ends up being, but we should have some news on these high-profile draft choices very soon. So, of course, let me know your thoughts on these top undrafted college free agents, where they might end up, and what your thoughts are on these other guys turning pro and getting their NHL contracts signed so they can begin their pro careers. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and we'll continue the conversation. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing and turning on your notifications so you don't miss any future content, and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it as well. I'd appreciate it if you did. As always, thank you for watching, and I will catch you next time.